Bayern Munich could still win a domestic double, but they've come up short at home tonight against the holders Real Madrid. Real winning by 2-1. Marcelo got the first, Asensio got the second after Bayern had taken the lead. Real, well, they're not going to win La Liga, but they could be on the brink of another European crown. Is that it, Damien? 2-1, is that going to be enough for them, or is there more in this?
Listen, I think with the quarter-finals in the past few weeks, never say never.
Okay.
Any game is still on, even the Roma-Liverpool one, but we'll touch on that later. It was, for such quality on the pitch, I thought it was very sloppy at times. Madrid have won without even going and playing at their top level. Madrid, for me in general, I can't say they're one of the great Madrid teams. I think we'd all agree on that. But they're just brutally efficient. They were organised, they were compact tonight, and any mistakes they capitalised on. And like we touched before the game, Ronaldo and Ramos are they run the joint. Well, I think Zidane doesn't get nowhere near enough credit as well. All the talk when his name is mentioned is when is he going to go, or he's going to get the sack. He's gone for his third Champions League. 3 in 3 years. He won the league last year. Like, I look through pages here, what he's bought, money spent. Like, he spent next to nothing. If you go through it. And tonight, for me, he smelled blood at half-time. He's took Isco off. Everyone will go, or Perez will go, let's put Bale on. Put Asensio for me, because he does the hard work going back. He threw him on, scored a great goal. Vasquez, not afraid to put Vasquez back to right back. He's a right winger. I know I had a go at him before the game, but the two of them ended up creating, I know, preying on Munich's mistake, but they were involved in the second goal. So I just think he's done an absolutely amazing job and doesn't get nowhere near enough credit with, like I said, not one of the great Madrid teams.
Does he need Eamon to win this to stay in that job? Win 3 in a row, which no coach has ever done before.
Well, no coach has ever done it before. No club has done it before. And it's difficult at Madrid. I mean, Del Bosque, the great Spanish manager, he won the Champions League and got the sack. He won the double.
Well, that's the list there of managers in the past 20 years.
Yeah,
like
it's
longer than we are.
Sure, yeah,
well, the coach is hired, Henk is, the coach is hired to manage players that are chosen by the president, Perez. And he goes out every 2 or 3 years, buys the best players in Europe, in the world, in fact, and he gets the coach to do the business. Now, they expect to win the Champions League, and if they don't win the league as well, I mean, they finish about 20 points behind Barcelona, Damien, in the league, because, they didn't get off to a good start, there were injuries, and Ronaldo really, I think, is timing his season to be right for this part of it. If you look at the last 3 seasons, he's been the difference. And Zidane appears to have managed him brilliantly. I agree with Damien. I don't think you could, in any rational way, say Zidane must go if he doesn't win the Champions League. The problem Zidane will have is that Ronaldo is 33, Ramos is roughly the same age, and you can't replace players of that calibre. But that's down the line. And just on tonight's game, it was so bad for a Champions League semi-final. It lacked intensity. It lacked, Bayern weren't fluent. The passing was poor. They're winning the Bundesliga by 22 points. I would say, and Didi would be interesting on this, they play too many easy games where you don't get punished for mistakes, and they just have enough quality in that club to beat almost every... They beat Dortmund 6-0 a few weeks ago, and Dortmund are one of the top 3 clubs. So that's how far ahead they are. But you pay a price for that when you come up against a real top team like Real Madrid. Every mistake you made is exaggerated and punished most severely. And Lewandowski tonight in particular, I thought we showed a lot of tap-ins that he got in the Bundesliga. There's no tap-ins tonight, but he missed chances and didn't play well.
Didi, how do you feel as a Bayern man at heart?
Well, I think the fans will be pretty deflated. Everybody was talking the chances up. They lost the last 5 games against them. I think they lost last year in the semi-final, and they were looking, I don't want to say revenge, but people were saying, oh, we've got a better team than last year, a better team than 5, which I never believed. I think it was... The manager talked about it, He's a very humble man, and he said this team is better than 5 years ago, and I think it showed a bit of a doubt in his mind, because if they were, he wouldn't have said it. And as I touched on before, the two wingers are 5 years older than they were. They were probably in their prime when they won the Champions League at Wembley in 2013. It's an aging team. And I think from a Bayern Munich point of view tonight, I think it's a sad and a bad day, because they still got a chance to go through. I don't think they will. But I think what it shows that this club has a huge task ahead of them. Eamon was talking about the best players going to Madrid. They haven't done the last few years, as Damien rightly said. They haven't really bought any top-class players. They went to Manchester City, they went to Manchester United, they go to Chelsea, go to Paris. So these players didn't go to Madrid. Now, if Madrid can't attract them, it's even tougher for Bayern Munich. And we've seen today Boateng and Robben coming off again. These players haven't played an awful lot of games this year. So next year, they'll be a year older. New contracts on the table for Robben, Ribéry, which I think is a mistake. Rafinha is probably kept as well, and I think they've been blinded by their dominance in the Bundesliga, by their going through into the cup final. They probably win the double again. They go to the semi-final. Madrid wasn't in full flow today. I think Madrid was average at best. Yes, Bayern Munich had chances, but in the end, I think they won it pretty comfortably. And I think that shows where that Bayern Munich side is at the moment. And there's only one way this team is going to go, which is downwards.
The new manager coming in, Kovac, who's managing currently Eintracht Frankfurt, he's got a lot of work to do, and they need an awful lot of money to regenerate this team, which, well, they'll start next season as favourites for the Bundesliga again. I don't know, how do Bayern fans look at the league title? They have won so many of them over the last number of years. It's the Champions League that they want, and OK, they're in the semi-finals, but perhaps they don't make the final.
100%, but if you offer them a semi-final and the league title and a cup final against Frankfurt when Ancelotti was in charge 6-7 months ago, they would have taken it all day long, because the team wasn't going anywhere. Henk has managed with his aura, with the respect that people got for him, his age, his experience. He got the best out of this team, and I think he squeezed every drop out of them. But I think tonight they showed how good they are, or this is as good, how they are. Coming to Kovac next year, I think this job is near enough impossible, because I think you've got to replace 5 or 6 players. You've got them for another year. Robben, Ribéry won't be happy playing once, twice a month. They want to play every week. I don't think they've done the new coach a favour by offering these guys new contracts. And, I think, we've seen him in the semi-final now. I don't want to say we won't see Bayern Munich in the semi-final for the next 3, 4, 5 years. But I think it'll be a lot harder in the next few years than it was this year. And
we made mention of it, Eamon, at half-time, about Liverpool fans. I know these can be famous last words, like let's say it's Liverpool in the final. I know there's a second leg to be played. But, Klopp and his team watching that game tonight, there's not a huge amount there to keep them awake this evening.
I think Real Madrid will keep them awake.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Real Madrid, if they don't keep them awake, they should. Because Real Madrid, in every part of their team, in defence, they have Ramos. The only hope is they have a poor goalkeeper, Navas. He looks a bag of nerves. I'd say he's reading in the Spanish papers, the Madrid paper in particular, every day about De Gea and all of that. So he's nervous. And you can see he's no confidence. You could see it in the game tonight. But they have quality in midfield. Modric and Kroos, Casemiro, very good player, holding midfield player. And up front they have Ronaldo. They have Asensio, who came on, who's an outstanding player. Isco scored a hat-trick for Spain when they beat Argentina 6-1 a few weeks ago. They have quality all over the pitch, and they are going to win the Champions League no matter what Liverpool do, in my opinion. But I'd
just
say
at times we didn't, we know the quality that's there, and Ronaldo didn't have a shot on target and all that stuff. That's not going to last for sure.
I want to see the Ronaldo-Lovren confrontation.
Yeah, OK, well, maybe Lovren might lose a couple of hours sleep over that. But you never know. But, we didn't see them at their, as you said earlier on, we didn't see them at their absolute peak. You can argue, sure, they didn't need to, and they've still won the first leg of the semi-final, and they're in charge. But, why didn't we see them? If that team... Well, I know Bayern had a lot of chances, but if that Real or the Bayern team were there to be taken asunder, why didn't Real take them asunder?
They just know how to win games. I think they did break at times in the second half, and it was bad choices, I think, by Benzema when they're breaking. So the third and fourth goal was there, but like I said, you just can't beat know-how. Like, I love the energy and the tempo Liverpool play at. They swat teams aside, and I still fancy them against Madrid, but just Madrid know how to win trophies. They're serial winners. And our Liverpool, I'm not so sure, but, you know, Ramos and Varane at the back tonight, like, if I'm one of them, I can't say I would have ever really felt threatened. Like Eamon said, I felt more threatened by the goalkeeper behind me, and he's on my team.
Twice winner.
Lewandowski tonight was very poor. Now, there's been talk of him going to Madrid. Yeah. I thought he was poor tonight. Did you guys?
Yeah, and you know, they beat the 3 semi-finals.
Yeah.
You look at Ronaldo's record in knockout games in the semi-final. Obviously, he didn't score today. And I'm not saying Lewandowski is part of the problem, but in the semi-finals they did play, he didn't perform as well as people expected him to do. And I'm not saying he's the reason, but maybe there's a change of thinking now, because he's 30 now. He's coming into the autumn of his career. And I'm not sure whether Madrid, after tonight's game, whether they still want him or are still interested, because if Ronaldo stays, he will play there. So, you know, how can he fit both of them in? And maybe this is also a position where Bayern Munich needs to look at. If we want to win the Champions League, are we actually going to win it with this guy?
Damien, here's what turned out to be the winner from the substitute, Asensio.
Yeah, well, this is, I guess, what top teams do. Opposition make a mistake and they finish it off. What Rafinha's doing here, I'm not sure at all. Just go home, or obviously back to Kimmich. But great first ball by Asensio, gets him on the front foot, and Vasquez. So that was a bit hard earlier, but great weighted ball, and Asensio just so calm there. You can see he sets himself, he doesn't rush his shot, and slots it away lovely. But the first ball makes it for me, and obviously this one as well from Vasquez. Does the hard work, but he did the good stuff as well tonight, and absolutely brilliant finish. And you can see, to be fair, I think he was 3.5 million a couple of years ago from Real Mallorca. Like, absolute snip, and you can see, for me, why he plays week in, week out, or if he's coming off the bench, always ahead of Bale, which would suggest to me also that Bale's days are numbered there.
Yeah, and he's been connected with Bayern Munich, actually, over the last 24 hours. Didi, the good stuff, Bayern had a lot of the ball. They did create a lot of chances. Here's the best of them. Yeah,
they did create chances. I wouldn't say they were all of them clear-cut chances, but at least they did threaten. At the heart of it was mostly Ribéry, who does well here. But they always have bodies behind, and Ramos is always in the right spot. He had a few fantastic blocks, and he always felt if a last-ditch tackle needs to be made, they'll do it. This is one where the keeper should probably gather, touch late, Morches to clear it for a corner. But they were huffing and puffing. I'm not sure. I never really had the feeling that they're going to score. This is well played by Ribéry. He gets a bit lucky that the ball comes back to him. And then, in fairness to Navas, when he needed to be, or when he was called upon today, he was there. And you see here, Madrid, this is a side we don't see very often. Touch lucky again, deflection comes to Ribéry. You know, they've got 8-9 players in the box. This is another one, probably the best one. I think it's offside. I think Lewandowski's offside. But they've just defended in numbers, and they show the side which we don't see very often. And this is what Eamon touched on before. A player of his calibre, he's got to do better. He's got to test either the goalkeeper, go past it. If he dinks it, he's got to score. They had a great head in the first half from 6 yards out, where he heads it straight to Navas. There are two fantastic chances. If Ronaldo has that head in the first half, he'll score, and I'm pretty sure he'll score this one. And this is, in the end, this is a difference between losing the game 2-1 or winning the game 3-2. And this is why I see Madrid going to Kiev.
If Mo Salah had those chances that Lewandowski has tonight, that's what he's doing so brilliantly. Yeah. He doesn't need 3 chances to score, or even 2. He's just popping them in. And Lewandowski tried there to do what Salah makes look so easy. In other words, pop it over the keeper and then tuck it into the corner net, like he did for the second goal last night. So I would say Lewandowski would need a big World Cup if Poland have qualified, have they? Did he? They have. Yeah, I mean, but if he's 30, he's old. You know, it really is. 30 is old for a centre-forward, in my opinion.
Okay. You've made mention of it already, guys. We're going to show that now. The wastefulness, and this comes, as you say, from being in a league where if you make a mistake...
Yes.
It's not going to be punished all the time?
No, dominance can be a bad thing. And you'll see here how really poor some of this stuff is. They're 22 points. Look at that. Who's that 2? Now, we could have picked out 5 minutes of this stuff. But it's wasteful, and it shows your head's not right. And you should be doing the simple things well. Again, you'll see here, miscontrol, that's Ribery, top player. He should be. When Asensio was in the same position, he stuck in the back of the net. Again, playing themselves into trouble at the back. And there's another ball. This is terrible. I mean, this is one of the biggest clubs in Europe. 22 points ahead in the league. And who's that pass to? Now, that wasn't... You wouldn't see that. You shouldn't see that from a top team ever. If there's 2 passes go astray in a match like that, there should be murder in the dressing room. And there were many, many examples of that right throughout. Now, that's giving the ball cheaply back to Real Madrid, and it's killing yourself inside when you make mistakes like that. But they're mental, unforced errors because you're not switched on from the moment you go on the pitch. And that comes from playing in a bad league.
And Didi, what about, all the players they lost to Robben and Boateng go off in the first half inside 28 minutes. Alaba wasn't fit. Like they had to come into the game this evening without several first team starters, and then they lose 2 crucial as Vidal is gone until the end of the season. What does that do to them, and does that throw light on the performance as well?
Well, Rafinha came in, he did a job for the team. He did tonight, apart from that, from the second goal which he gifted to Madrid. Vidal, I'm not sure whether he would have played anyway. And Thiago came on, and Eamon said it before, it might be a bit of a risk playing the 2 wingers from the start when it backfired in a way when Robben came off. The only player who would make a difference to this team is Kingsley Coman, who's out, who's been injured about 6-8 weeks ago. He's out for the season. Because he's got pace, because I think it's blatant. It'll be even more blatant when you play away from home. When you haven't got pace, you won't be able to stretch teams, and you have to ask the opposition questions. And Madrid today, everything was in front of them. And yes, they had a few chances, but it was a lot of shots deflected, came back to them, where they got a second bite of the cherry. And when you haven't got pace in your team, you can't stretch teams. And this is where James is good. This is where Thiago is at his best, when he's between the lines, when he can turn and then slip these balls in. And that's the one thing that stands out for me, the lack of pace throughout the team. Liverpool got it in abundance. Roma have some, and certainly Madrid have got it. And I think this is what cost them tonight. And I think this is what they will have to address over the next months and years. But I think it's a big job on hand for Bayern Munich.
Signs are bad for one of the great clubs in Europe. The signs are bad for Juventus, one of the great clubs in Europe. AC Milan, all these great clubs in the history of the game, they're gone because they can't afford to go to Harrods and buy the best players.
But I suppose, like, gone at Champions League level, they'll still, like Bayern Munich, I'm sure, have no debt. This is a fabulously run club from a financial point of view. They're winning the Bundesliga every year, and they're getting to the semi-final of the Champions League. Man United fans, other clubs, Man City would quite happily be in the position to be in the Champions League semi-final.
I agree, and Uli Hoeneß always says we've got the biggest bank account of all the clubs, because we've got 250 million quid here, and if we need it, we can buy a player for 100 million quid. Whether they do, we'll find out in the summer. But I think the danger with these clubs is with the young talent always getting more and more expensive to hang on to your players for too long. And I think this is what happened at Juventus. Even though they've been pretty successful, they had Real Madrid on the ropes, and you can't fault them. But I think sometimes you have to make the change, and you can't. And, you know, they're 34, 35. They give him another season, so they'll be 35 and 36 next season. How long do they want to keep him? And what they do when they don't play, there'll be a distraction to the team. And sometimes you have to look not 6 months ahead. You've got to look 2-3 years ahead, even though that's hard in today's football. But you've got to.
Didn't Karl-Heinz Rummenigge say, after the Neymar transfer to PSG for 220 million euros, Karl-Heinz Rummenigge said, I'd rather build a new stadium.
But Neymar was a player Guardiola wanted. He didn't get him, and they bought Götze instead. But that's what he said.
With that mentality, which is prudent, it's good also. I mean, it doesn't cost an arm and a leg to go and see a Bundesliga game. Yeah, that's true. There's members clubs. The membership have a voice. There's respect for your fans. There's a lot of things that are admirable. But Hollywood and is about stars. It's about top players. And they call Bayern Munich FC Hollywood in Germany. But really, in Hollywood, you need stars, baby.
Yes, you do. OK, guys, thanks very much indeed. That's a nice way to finish our discussion on Real Madrid beating Bayern Munich tonight and taking charge of their semi-final.